Welcome to In the Moment with Kortia, where we inform, inspire, and motivate you to be a positive agent of change. And family, friends, look, you know what we do. Call into the radio station at that local number or our toll-free number. And on this Halfway There Wednesday, look, we're going to be talking about learning how to walk. Pretty interesting title, wouldn't you say? But, hey, when we get into it, you're really going to see how God's going to break this thing down. But, you know, before we really get started, we just want to go ahead and give another shout out to one of our listeners out there that let us know exactly how much they're enjoying the show. We got the message, and, you know, to Mr. Kenny Laborde, we just want to thank you, and we really appreciate you for tuning in each and every day to the programming. And, Kenny, if you're not busy, if you'd like to, why don't you just call into the radio station, 318-484-2500, and, you know, we can just put you on the air and spot and just say thank you so much for how you support us. But, look, hey, we just thank each and every one of you for how you always support us and you give us that great feedback, you know, through meeting you in person or over social media or however you do it. And in saying that, hey, continually follow us on social media, all platforms, and listen to the live podcasts across YouTube, and then definitely going to our website, inthemomentwithkortiakuzan.com, to where not only will you be able to listen to the podcast, but get the free offerings that we have available for you there. All right, so joining us just now on the microphone is the sensational Jennifer Kuzan.
Good morning.
Good morning, hon. And look, we are talking about learning how to walk. And you might say, well, what is he talking about, learning how to walk this morning? And as my wife gives me, I still haven't drank enough coffee today.
Oh, no, actually, I was thinking I need coffee to walk.
Well, I tell you what.
It's one of those mornings.
We just got a new little twist on it, okay? Some people, you think if they're staggering, maybe they had a little sip of something they shouldn't have had. But did you ever think people may be staggering because they didn't have enough coffee to drink?
Maybe that's what was going on with that truck that was in front of us this morning.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. You know something? When you are like 4 o'clock in the morning and you're on the highway and, you know, your vehicle is going back and forth, I mean, you just might want to pull off. I mean, because something may be going on with you. We can say it's sleeping, but I'm just going to go ahead and say that when we were behind this guy this morning, it was a little bit beyond sleeping. So,
oh, yeah.
So, yeah, please be mindful of the drivers that are around you. Defensive driving, okay, tidbit. It's not learning how to walk, but, man, it needs to be learning how to drive, okay? So, look, but we're talking about when we say learning how to walk, all right? We're talking about what it is as far as like the thing that's actually going to grow you up, this process that you're actually going to have to go through. And there it is. We said the P word, process.
Ooh.
The process. The process we each have to go through to get to a certain level to begin to really start attaining the things that God has in store for us. And I mean, through this entire show today, you can actually envision almost as if, you know, a little child, or envision yourself, if you can remember back that far, or when you probably started, you know, learning how to walk and pull up on things, right?
I was just thinking about my earliest memory.
Yeah, you know.
It wasn't how to walk. It was how to light matches.
Fire.
I did. I was a firebug.
Oh, my God. Well, yeah, she actually shared those stories, which were like, I was just like, wow.
That's probably my earliest memory.
She started the fire and they brought the fire to her backside.
Yeah, I lit my mattress on fire.
Wow. Goodness.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know, really. Did anyone ever think I was married to a pyrokinetic movie? Really? Huh? But look, learning how to walk. Okay, step one. I mean, it's really, you know, the foundation of this entire thing that we're talking about today is actually being teachable, or, you know, say having a teachable spirit, okay? To where you always have yourself in a position where you're always willing to, you know, learn something new. Now, I don't know about anyone else out there, you know, even speaking as far as like for my wife, but literally I pick up something new every single day. Now, I mean, it's not going to be something that may just shift my whole world, but, you know, it's something that when I pick up on, I can say, oh, okay, you know, I really didn't know about this, or God brings it to me in a new perspective, and I'm like, I never thought about it that way, you know? Mm-hmm. So able to grow in some type of capacity each and every day. But one of the biggest things that I've actually seen with individuals is that, and I'm sure you can go ahead and say this, I'm waiting for the facial expression, that when you try to tell somebody something, they give you this comment, or they look at you in a certain way as if They think that they've arrived and they're not able to learn and they'll be taught anything new.
I run into that every now and then.
And I mean,
every now and then, someone like that walks across my path.
I can remember when I first started, and how can I say, when I first started getting a paycheck, and not just working for like cash money, say like when I was 15, and when you go and then your manager says, okay, I'm going to put you with this person, and I want you to train them in this particular area like that because I trust you to go ahead and train this particular person.
Right.
And then when you're starting to train, hey, you need to go through this and do like this, or oh look, I know how to wash dishes, or I know how to do this, or I know how to do that.
I know how to take shortcuts.
Yeah, basically that's what they're telling you. I know how to take shortcuts to, circumvent the process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, I remember one time, and you might say, well, man, how hard is it to wash dishes? Well, when you wash dishes like in a restaurant, in the commercial kitchen, there are certain routines and things that happen, just like through life, all right? There are certain routines and different things that need to happen to get you to that end point. So when it came to washing the dishes, you had to stack them up in the rack a certain way, and then you had to spray them off a certain way, then you had to go ahead and hit them with a pre-treater, then you put them through the dishwasher, okay? And if you didn't do that, the end result was when you put them through that hot steam and heat, it would bake the food on the dishes, so it would come out worse than what it was. So, when the manager actually would ask me, well, why is there food still on these dishes when it came through the dishwasher? I'm like, oh, well, he knew everything. He knew exactly what to do. Every time I tried to tell him something, he was just like, oh, I know how to do this. I know how to do this. But it's just like a lot of people that we come into contact with is that just because they think they may be familiar with something, they think they grasp the entire picture of how to do something, And, it really hinders a lot of people, especially in the things that God has in store for them.
Yeah.
Just because they think they're familiar with a certain facet of life, oh, I know everything that I need to know about that.
Yeah,
okay?
It's really important to have a teachable spirit.
Oh.
You have to be willing to learn and not, I guess, shun advice.
True. And the thing with that is that, what I tell different individuals that when they explain, see, I'm like one of these upfront kind of individuals. And, basically when someone has to explain something to me or when, they show me something new, I always let them know before we get started. Unless I ask you a question, I'm understanding completely. I'm understanding everything that you're talking about. I'm one of those people. If I don't know, you never have to realize or think, does he get it? Because if I don't get something, I'm going to ask you. And I'm going to keep asking you questions until I get it. But if I do understand something, I don't ask questions, okay? But that's just me. But the thing is that when you don't ask questions or if you don't have that teachable spirit, how are you going to know what you need to aspire to, okay? You're going to keep hitting your own little roof or ceiling, your own little bar. You won't be able to grow anymore, okay? So look, how God is just letting you know right now, the main thing is that you have to have that teachable spirit, be slow to speak but quick to listen. So look, definitely I know he's touching you right now in your moment as we're learning how to walk or learning how to walk into the purpose that he's called us to. And, when we actually come back, we're definitely going to get right back into this. Welcome back to In the Moment with Kortia Kuzan. Hey, we're talking about learning how to walk. And look, before going to break, we're talking about having a teachable spirit, or should I say being teachable. And, really with that is that when you're teachable, all right, and this is something that you probably don't hear about a lot, is that you need to always be willing to listen to good advice. Now, you might say, well, that's kind of obvious. Well, what's really obvious or really not as obvious? Some people don't know what good advice is. Some people don't know what bad advice is. Some people just group everything in one category, just someone giving advice, okay? And, it's kind of like on this particular point, you really have to bring out God's measuring stick. I mean, that's right. The best way I can put that,
yes.
Okay? Now, God's going to give you instructions, and I say this all the time. And a lot of you under the sound of
all the time.
A lot of you under the sound of my voice will realize that when God gives you instructions, I'm going to say 100 out of 100% of the time, It really doesn't make any sense. Now, you in the immediate, when God tells you to do something, you just might be like, okay, but then you don't see how it's going to play out down the road. Well, it's the same thing like with advice from a person. If the advice that they give you, is it going to be something that's going to help you immediately, or you can see how it's going to help you, down the road, then I would generally say, okay, that may be good advice from someone. But if someone's trying to give you quote unquote advice, and it's something that's trying to, well, how many times have we seen people try to give others advice and it's a matter of trying to paralyze them in a state of fear to not even begin something, okay? It's almost like, I'm going to give you advice because I don't believe I can do it, and since we're grouped together, I don't think you can do it.
I was going to say, I like the biggest one.
Yeah.
If I were you.
That's the biggest thing. If I were you, I wouldn't do this. My uncle from the other side of my cousins from third generation and everything, they didn't succeed in that area, so I don't think you'll do it either. So,
It's a good thing you're not me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, right? Exactly. So you shouldn't be afraid to actually shun bad advice, all right? So that's one of the key things. So recognize what good advice is, but then when you get bad advice, appreciate people for their input in a nice way. And then all of a sudden, just say, well, I'm not going to go ahead and take this advice. Don't you stare at me like that. I am cordial. I am nice, professional. Thank you very much.
I didn't say anything
Put your Spock eyebrows back down. Look, but exactly how you listen and you respond to different people is going to allow you to know if you do have a teachable spirit, if you are really teachable, all right? And, definitely if you want to go to a certain level in your life and you have people that you see that can actually help get you there. I'm not talking about using people, okay? I'm talking about leaning and, asking different questions, and they can give you different tidbits, different modes of advice to help you get there. I mean,
similar to a mentor.
Right, similar to a mentor. Okay, you need to realize who a mentor is. As someone that's willing to help you, and I'm not talking about someone that you're trying to leech off of, okay, to where you're just like always there. You need to really know the distinction of where you don't become like a hindrance or a pest to that particular person. But then, next point that we're actually going into is that, pick yourself up. When you're learning how to walk, you need to actually pick yourself up. And what do we mean by that? We were talking about before the show really began about getting in your mind of like when you're first walking, your earliest memory, okay? Not when you're like this fire baby like my wife was and everything, but
really? Wow.
But
how long ago was that?
But hey, you brought it up, so hey, it's a reference point.
It was the only time, and I did learn from that experience.
But look, definitely when you're actually learning how to walk, okay? When you're learning how to walk, okay, you're unsure as a child. You have the wobbly legs. I mean, you fall over time and time again. But what do? You don't just stop and just sit there and pout. You find some way to actually brace yourself and pull yourself up, okay, when you're trying to get that strength and everything in your legs. And until that actually happens, what do? Every time you fall, you lift yourself up and you keep trying to walk, keep trying to take that first step, okay? Trying to build that confidence of where you want to walk into. Well, it's the same thing like when you're an adult or you're walking into the purpose that God has in store for you, okay? Now, if God would have shown me and I love how some people say that, and I really get this now. If God would have showed me in the beginning that I was going to fall down this many times before I got to this part in time in my life, I would have never started. So I really know now. I've finally caught the whole revelation about what Dave said about that, because if God would have actually showed us that we would have we first accepted him as Lord and Savior up until all the stuff that's happened, I would have been like, oh no, not me. I mean, because that was some kind of obstacle course faith right there. What is that show that's out there, that American Ninja, where they do all that craziness or whatever? I mean, man, I can definitely say our walk with the Lord has kind of been that capacity. Oh, man, it's been really interesting, really, really interesting. But definitely, picking yourself up, taking those first steps. I mean, it goes into every area of your life, whether it's like in your business, okay? Now, when we first started doing things as business, hey, we're under the mindset, at least I was under the mindset, you can tell me different with you, that as long as we saw how it was, we had the picture in our head, we saw how this piece would work, that piece would work, people were going to do this, like we're trying to, in our mind, say that, okay, this is what everybody's going to do, okay, at least in my mind, that's how it was. And then all of a sudden, it was just going to work out exactly the way we saw it. And then and then all of a sudden, you go ahead and you're like, this isn't working out the way I saw it in my head.
Not at all.
What's wrong? I mean, what's really going on? And then we're up there, something must be wrong with these people. These people, they know all this good knowledge or this good expertise, this service and everything that we have. Why are they not knocking down the doors, to come and partake in our business that we actually have? But, it's part of the process.
It is part of the process. Because
what ends up happening, it allows you to, have growth and everything in your life. And definitely, when you're in business, and for you business owners out there, when you're in business, you're not going to get everything you want the first time out.
No.
Okay, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
It is a learning process.
Oh, man, absolutely. And then, when you actually are able to experience failures, for the first time, what happens? You learn from that, you grow, and then you actually perfect your methods. Well, let's flip that around, okay? When you actually get into a relationship with someone, okay, and you're going and say this individual doesn't appreciate you, I would hope that you have gained knowledge on the pitfalls of how it is to, be that right type of person, and, how you have getting the affections or supposed affections from possibly that wrong type. And I've used the example before that some of the greatest lessons I've had when it comes to dealing with people on a personal level came when God told me to watch someone that was just totally out of whack, And I actually asked God, well, why do you have me watching this person? It makes no sense. And I'm telling God, they're doing this wrong, they're doing that wrong, they're doing this wrong, but God just keeps saying, watch the person. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the day, I went back to God, and then God specifically said, well, now you know what not to do, And some of us don't realize that some of the greatest lessons that we will ever attain in learning how to walk is looking at the things that people are doing wrong so that we don't repeat those certain things in our lives.
Right.
Okay. And that's that experience, that's that experience that God is showing us. And like I said, it goes to every facet of your life, whether professionally or personally. But what are you actually going to say, take those, learn from it, and actually grow? I mean, you have to learn to actually dust yourself off, get up quickly when things don't actually go your way. Okay, you really do. All right, you just can't be like some of these kids, my Lord, and I really don't see how they do that nowadays. So they can actually sit down in the middle of the floor of the grocery store and just start pouting, thinking they're going to get their own way, and that something's going to happen. And as my wife licks her chops, like, if that was mine, don't worry, baby. I said it for you. One flesh. There you go.
The scripture that sticks out to me. The scripture that sticks out to me in all of that is where David encouraged himself.
Yes, that's good. And, that's where that entire expression came from, where, sometimes you just have to encourage yourself, okay? Because, for everything that happened with David, family taken, kids taken, possessions taken, come back with these men, and then all of a sudden they want to kill him because they're in so much emotional turmoil. Hey, sometimes you're going to have to encourage yourself in certain situations. And then God's letting you know, even in that process, he's showing you how to walk. So look, definitely letting you know that he's catapulting you and taking you to where you need to be right in your moment. And look, stay with us as we go right into this break. Welcome back to In the Moment with Kortia Cruz. And hey, wow, we're learning how to walk today. Woo! Look, getting the weak leggeds, getting the knees strengthened up, getting those calves pumped up. But hey, we're not talking about exercise. So hey, don't go ahead and get your sweat towel or your gym socks and everything. All right, let's just get on up. Let's just get on up and let's continue to learn how to walk and walk into what God has in store for us. All right. So look, third point that we're actually going into, and this is a challenge, I'm going to say, for everyone. Okay, I know they say out there, 21 days consistently, to make a habit. All right, but everyone goes through these certain little days where they're just like, I just don't feel like doing anything today. Can we just do the cardio today?
I've been there for about 3 weeks. I'm almost at 21 days. It's a habit.
No, see, and we breaking that habit. You're getting back on those weights and building those muscles back up. Look, but look, and why are we saying that? The third point we're actually going into, you need to practice, practice, practice. I don't think they heard what I said. You think they heard what I said?
They probably did, but I know you're going to say it again.
Yes, I am. You need to practice, 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 all right? And, just like in the example that we used before, that when a baby begins to walk, okay, they don't just all of a sudden get up and say, ooh, do, I took a step, and that was it, okay?
Oh, gosh, okay.
You didn't hear the baby? Special
guest. I heard it.
Special guest baby came in, went out the door already. Okay, bye-bye. But, basically, you take that first take that first step. Take that first step, all right? And when you get more sure in what God is calling you to do, then what? You're going to feel like you're more steady as far as like on your feet, okay? And walking into what he's called you. Now, when you're going into, it's the same thing like when you're going into like a new job, all right? When you get there, especially like what I found really interesting, like we've always said that, and this is just us from our own experience, you don't have to agree with this, that we'd actually take someone that had more applicable experience, meaning that have on-the-job training, than someone that may go and have like this big degree from a college and then they're coming in for a position. Just because, they've gone through the fire, they've been tested, they've been tried in all these different areas, and, they've pretty much proven that they're able to handle a certain position, as opposed to someone that's probably just coming in, because what? Usually the person that's already been there has to train that person that comes in later on, and then that person ends up being like their supervisor. Mm-hmm. But, that's just the way of the world, okay? But learning how to walk and take those steps, okay? Putting that one foot in front of the other until you actually get comfortable and you start moving at a faster pace. It's the same thing like with the things of God. When God wants to actually get you to, when you're being teachable and you had acquiring like a new skill, or you're getting like mentored from someone, and you start putting these things into practice, okay, when you start to get more proficient in that area, and that's what I've really found out about God, if not any other time, but over the last year and a half, is that when you start to get more proficient in one area, like when you start to get comfortable, okay, get ready for the next thing, okay? Uh-huh. Because God is not going to allow you to get comfortable. If you
get comfortable, he will shake you up.
Oh, man. Look, he will shake you up. And it's usually in a way that you a lot of times don't even expect, okay? But it will shake you up, and it's going to actually cause you to grow even more. I mean, it's the same thing in business. It's the same thing in your personal lives. I mean, the more you, like I said, get used to doing something and get ready for that change to come. Right. Really get ready for that change to start happening into your life. And what? It's not to make you stressed out, all right? It's to make you better. And I think a lot of people, when things start changing that are different in their lives, they don't look at it as a positive, okay? There's a lot of people look at it as a negative in their lives.
That's right.
Like, oh, my Lord, I got to change again. I've got to do this. You know, what's one of the things that when we were, you probably first started off on a job or something, why are they changing things? I mean, this is the way we always been doing this, you know? Even in even in your household, you might say, yeah, and hey, our kids have been there. When you were kids, you've done that. Why we have to do it this way? This is the same way we've done it all the time. I mean, this is extra work. You know, we've all said something like that to some degree, whether personally or professionally. Raising my hand, and as my wife agrees with me, as she's like,
I have not agreed with you yet.
Hey, look, the eyes tell the tale.
No.
Oh, yes. No. Oh, yes, but definitely. But see, the thing is that when you do that, even though you may be unsure in the beginning, don't give up, okay? And the thing, what I've really found out that through this phase is that a lot of people, they may get up and they're really unsure about themselves, and immediately they start comparing themselves to someone that may have been doing what they're doing right now for years. I mean, that's like you're setting yourself up for failure, like automatically. You start, because I used to do that, start measuring yourself on a level. Okay, you start in this new position, having this new skill, and then you start asking people, okay, how long did it take you to pick this up? How long did it take you? I mean, how long did they give you? I mean, you start asking all of these different questions that really don't pertain to anything that's going on, right? Because no person is going to pick up a certain skill set the same way that someone else does. So, you actually have to go to your own understanding level. And then, be just like Thomas Edison, just like what he said. I mean, when you fail forward and learn how not to do that same thing the next time. I mean, and that's what we say every single day on this show when getting you to be that positive agent of change. You're going to fail, all right? You will fail. Or what, let's just say, there's a certain standard that the world would call failure, and there's a certain type of failure when you're following the things of God, because the world will say you're failed and you're just stuck right where you are, but when it's like the things of God, you're failing forward, but you're growing in the process and you're still moving towards what God has in store for you, okay? So definitely practice, definitely keep that mindset as far as like how God is actually bringing you through. And, it's something that how you run into a certain group of individuals, and from the coaching aspect of the things that I actually do now, okay, dealing with certain people, that there are a lot of people that I run into, and I would say, I used to say, okay, it was a certain age group, but it can be like from, I don't know, early 20s going all the way up to possibly 80. Now, let me know your take or whatever on this. Does it seem like to you that for whatever reason, we know that there's this big spirit of like entitlement or whatever that's out there. We know that. Okay. That's the odds.
Surely there is not a spirit of entitlement anywhere around here.
Yeah. But it just seems like to me that, no matter the age now, that if someone wants something to happen in their life and they run into someone that basically has a solution or the answer, they want that person to do what they're supposed to do for them, and they want to reap the benefits off of it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like running into that like mindset, that way of life almost on a daily basis, and it just blows my imagination at how this is. And like I said, I don't know if it's just because of where we came from. I don't know if it's just because of how we were raised. It's just something in how we're raising our kids, And I thank God for how our kids, have given us and let us know many, many times that, my wife can testify, man, we just thank y'all for how y'all have actually raised us, because they see themselves how things are out there in the world, because it's basically, if God has it there for you, okay, this example, just like with the children of Israel, okay, God had already set and given them the land, given them possession of everything, okay? Hey, it's just like me telling one of my children, I've got a table of food, table of money, whatever it is, just sitting there for you. All you need to do is go ahead and take possession of it. Just like God told them, all you need to do is take possession of it. What ends up happening? Some people just realize that another individual needs to bring it to them. Well, you know something? If you don't realize right now in your moment how God's talking to you, of teaching you how to walk on this day, you really may never receive everything that he has in store for you. So look, stay with us. We're about to go ahead into our next break. But look, I know definitely that God is reaching you right where you are. Welcome back to In the Moment with Kortia Cruz. And hey, we're learning how to walk in the studio today on this last portion of the programming. We just went in before break talking about practice, and anything that you really want to do well in life, okay, whether it's in your personal, professional life, you're going to have to practice at it. You might say, well, look, I don't have to practice at my marriage or practice being a dad or a mother. Oh, believe me, contraire, mon frere, you definitely have to practice at that on a daily basis. So don't let yourself be deceived by the enemy in that capacity, all right? But look, next point, exercising patience. And you might say, hey, I've got all the patience in the world. And then all of a sudden you just had that person that just cut you off and your patience just went right out the door. as the car passed you by, or whatever it is that may hinder you from actually growing in the level of patience, and definitely as a child of God, okay? I'm just putting this out there. And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you ever need patience in your life, here's a tidbit for you. Never say, Lord, teach me patience, okay? Because trust me when I tell you, we did that over 20 years ago, and we're still going through the process of patience, all right? Now, ask God to just grace you through it, give you examples, let you watch people in that area of patience, okay? And it brings me into an example that I had that my wife actually shared with me. If you actually get this visual, have you ever actually seen like two babies, okay? And, one's a little bit more advanced than the other, and they're actually starting to walk, all right? And, just like we said before, they're pulling themselves up. They're trying to get strength in their legs. They're trying to get sure of themselves to take that first step. And then all of a sudden, that first baby starts to walk. But what ends up happening? That second baby that was watching the first baby the entire time, well, they're like, oh, wow, they could do it. I can do it. And since they've seen how to do it, then that second child gets up and it doesn't take as much effort as the first. Well, guess what? They had patience. They were not impatient in the process of learning how to walk, but they just kept on trying. Well, it's the same thing for each and every one of us today, okay, in this life that the Lord has actually blessed us with. We need to actually have patience in this walk that he's blessed us to have to grow in the fullness of everything that he's actually calling us into. Now, look, we live in this microwave society to where we want everything like right now. Before it pops out of our mouth, we want it to be right in front of us, okay? But with God, that's just not reality, all right? Now, sometimes God can look at your heart and make things manifest, but you want to know something has to line up according to his plan and purpose for your life. But look, in this natural sense, we need to really learn how to acquire the patience to actually walk into the realm of all that he has in store for us. I mean, look, building $1 million or $1 billion business, if you realize it doesn't happen overnight. Building a strong marriage, it doesn't happen overnight. Building a strong connection with kids, it doesn't happen overnight, all right? It's a process that actually happens, and it takes that you have to go through on a daily basis, all right? And I mean, being impatient sometimes, especially in business, it makes you look desperate. All right.
It sure does.
I mean, it makes you look desperate. It makes the people that are sitting across the table from you, when you have this desperation look on your face, like, okay, I'm really not sure about this individual. Are they trying to put something over on me for how impatient that they are? Okay. You would be amazed at how much when you exude confidence in front of people in the realm of business or in your personal life, how that confidence just stretches out to that person. And it just lets them know when you get that statement, I really don't know why I'm selecting you. Other people have been more qualified or what have you. But, that's just something about you. I love when they say that. That's just something about you. And then, impatience is really the ultimate sabotage, because you might say, well, what's that? Well, it's going to cloud your judgment. It takes away from your credibility, what we're already talking about. And it's going to damage your relationships. And what's the biggest thing, and I'm sure you agree with this, impatience will cause you to make shortcuts or take shortcuts in every area of your life. Every area when you're being impatient, okay?
Yes.
And then, wow, if you didn't realize it, nothing of value when you're learning how to walk. Nothing of value comes easily. And I know you might not want to hear that, but it's really true. Nothing of value in this life will ever come easy to you. I mean, if it is of value, it's going to take time, all right? And, I see this is continually popping out and it's catching someone right there in your moment in your marriage, okay? A marriage that really edifies and reflects who the Lord is going to take time. I mean, you hear that expression about, the honeymoon's over, once you get back. But look, the honeymoon can continually be going on, may not be in a sense of a natural way that people, may say, but I'm talking about in a spiritual connection, an emotional connection, how you treat each other, okay? But look, it even requires patience in that area. And, even in going to a realm of entrepreneurs, most entrepreneurs like to sometimes overly simplify matters, as much as possible, but you don't want to try to overly simplify this process that God is taking you through, because why? Just like we said, when you start to try to overly simplify something, you're going to get shortcutted.
You will.
And, definitely on the last point, celebrate your first taste of success. I mean, I don't, how God puts in his word, don't despise those humble beginnings, okay? And that's the same thing like with success. It amazes me just because I know we've done it, just because it wasn't what we thought it should be. And hey, don't you be pointing your finger at me. That the way we've done it, and how and how we've done it, that sometimes, you don't really want to celebrate those successes because it didn't happen in the way you wanted it to, okay?
But you have to live in the moment and celebrate your little successes.
That's it. Just like we say, being in your moment, staying in your moment, celebrating each particular moment that you have, okay? Even when it comes to you may not have picked up, on a certain skill set as fast as someone else, but when you do, celebrate that moment, okay? When you may have thought that something needed to change in your personal life that needed to, get a little bit better, celebrate it when it does change, Stop putting ourselves on these unrealistic timetables. And yes, I'm waving my hand. We've all need to wave our hand.
That's all right. I'm pointing my finger.
Okay. Don't worry. She's pointing her finger at me, but she's got 4 more pointing right back at her. That's okay. Yes. But definitely celebrate those first tastes of success, okay? And look, what we need to realize is that, it actually takes time. I mean, time is that factor. Time is the one thing that you just cannot get in there and tweak, change, pay money for, anything else. Time is time, all right? And it's going to be a part of that process.
That's
right.
But
then what you need to realize is this, that when you have that first taste of success, success begets success. And it's like that domino effect that we continually talk about. It's going to steamroll. It's going to roll over into the next thing. And it's really going to cause this pattern that's going to happen in your life. And not only the pattern going to happen in your life, but you're going to be able to transfer and teach people the exact same things that have gotten you to that level of success. And that's what it's all about. We keep going back to what God called us to do in the beginning. I blessed you to be a blessing, okay? And that's what this entire walk is all about. And like I said, I know some of you may not have accepted Christ as your Lord and Savior. Not excluding you. You're doing what you're doing now, but I even would ask that you leave that inheritance for your children's children, to show them the right way, do the right things. But ultimately, hey, I'm a little biased here. Ultimately, I want you to come on over to the family, to be a part of us, lock, stock, and barrel, as you call it. And so, look, definitely we're close to be walking out the door. But, look, I want you to actually tune in on tomorrow where we have our guest speaker that's going to be calling in. It's going to be Mrs. Tara Usby. And, look, so many of us have talked about, man, if I just had a way to help this person or help that person, well, guess what? After tomorrow's show, you're never going to have a reason why you're never going to be able to help anyone ever again. So tune in tomorrow with Mrs. Tara Usby because it's going to be really dynamic. So look, we've been talking about learning how to walk on today, and I know God has actually reached you right there in your moment. He's actually brought up the skills and utilized the things, and look, he's letting you know that he's right there. He'll never leave you or forsake you. So look, God loves you. We love you. Take care. God bless, and stay in your moment.